Imagine waking up every morning feeling lighter, freer, and more in control of your own life, no matter what the world throws at you. Now, imagine the opposite, a life where every word someone says, every glance, every small slight, chips away at your confidence, your energy, your peace. Which life would you choose? The truth is, most of us are giving away pieces of ourselves every single day without even realizing it. We let other people's opinions, drama, and expectations dictate how we feel. We sacrifice our time, our happiness, our very sense of worth, and then wonder why life feels heavy. What if I told you that there is a way to stop this, that there is a way to protect your mind, your heart, and your peace at all costs, and that doing so is not selfish, but necessary? This isn't about arrogance. It's not about shutting people out. It's about a radical truth. Nothing external is worth losing your peace over. Not a toxic job, not a draining relationship, not even the opinions of people you care about. Because once you understand this, once you truly internalize it, everything changes. You start living life on your terms, anchored in self-respect, fearless in protecting your inner calm, and unshakable no matter the chaos outside. And here's the secret most people never realize. Valuing yourself deeply is not just about saying I'm enough. It's about refusing to negotiate with anything or anyone that threatens your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Tonight, we're going to dig deep. We're going to confront the habits, people, and patterns that steal your energy. We're going to learn how to set boundaries without guilt, choose wisely in every situation, and build a life where peace is your default, not a luxury. By the end of this, you won't just think differently, you'll feel differently. You'll see yourself in a new light as someone unshakable, unapologetic, and deeply worthy of serenity. Ask yourself this before we continue. How many moments of your life have you traded for someone else's drama? How many times have you said yes when every fiber of your being screamed no? The answers may surprise you, but what matters now is this: it stops today. Too often, we go through life forgetting the most important person we will ever live with, ourselves. From the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep, our relationship with our own mind, our own heart, and our own soul shapes every single experience. Yet, many of us treat ourselves as if we are optional, like we are a guest in our own lives rather than the host. We let small slights, unkind words, or even the expectations of others determine our mood, our confidence, our energy. But here's the truth. Your worth is not determined by what anyone else says, thinks, or does. Your value is intrinsic. It is unshakable. It is non-negotiable. Take a moment to think about that. How often do you let someone's criticism linger in your mind for hours or even days? How often do you ignore your own needs because you're worried about disappointing someone else? How often do you shrink yourself, mute your voice, or abandon your dreams just to make life easier for others? This is not weakness. This is simply human. But it is also the first sign that you have not yet fully recognized the power and the sanctity of your own worth. Understanding your inner worth begins with a choice, a conscious, deliberate decision to stop outsourcing your value to the world. It begins when you stop measuring yourself against the shifting sands of other people's opinions and start measuring yourself by the integrity of your actions, the depth of your character, and the courage of your convictions. Think of it like this. If you were entrusted with a priceless gem, would you hand it over to anyone who demanded it just because they asked nicely? Of course not. You would protect it. You would honor it. That gem is your life, and that priceless gem is your inner self, the essence of who you are. When you truly grasp this, life starts to look different. You stop apologizing for who you are. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop chasing validation from people who don't even know how to see it. Instead, you begin to stand taller, speak louder, and live with a kind of quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by criticism or envy. You begin to treat yourself the way you deserve to be treated, with patience, respect, and love. And the incredible thing is, the more you value yourself, the more the world begins to reflect that back to you. People respond to the energy you carry. If you carry self-respect, people treat you with respect. If you carry confidence, people meet you with honesty, and if you carry peace, people are drawn to your calm. But understanding your worth is not just about feeling good or gaining respect, it is also about protection. Protecting yourself from toxic people, draining situations, and habits that erode your spirit. There is nothing selfish about putting yourself first. Imagine trying to pour water from an empty cup. No matter how hard you try, nothing comes out. By valuing yourself, by truly seeing your own importance, you are filling your cup. You are creating a reservoir of strength, clarity, and calm that allows you to give to others freely, but only when it is sustainable and healthy. Many people confuse humility with self-devaluation. They think being humble means minimizing themselves, shrinking their accomplishments, or ignoring their own needs. But true humility does not come from erasing yourself. It comes from recognizing your place, your purpose, and your power, and acting from that space of understanding rather than fear. When you know your worth, humility becomes a tool of strength. It allows you to operate from confidence, to engage with others from a place of generosity, not desperation. Let me be clear, understanding your worth does not mean you will never feel doubt or insecurity. These are human emotions. They are part of the journey. What changes is the way you respond to them. Instead of letting doubt dictate your choices, you learn to observe it, acknowledge it, and move forward anyway. Instead of letting insecurity whisper that you are not enough, you remind yourself, I am not defined by fleeting opinions. I am defined by my principles, my resilience, my character, and the peace I am committed to protecting. One of the most powerful ways to internalize your worth is to take stock of your life honestly. Ask yourself, which parts of my life honor who I am? Which parts are costing me peace? Be ruthless in your honesty. Write down the people, habits, and situations that chip away at your energy. Then, make a decision, not out of anger, not out of resentment, but out of love for yourself. Choose to disengage, limit, or completely remove anything that diminishes your sense of value. You will be amazed at the liberation that comes from this act of self-respect. Stories of people who finally recognize their worth are everywhere, though we often don't hear about them until later. Consider the person who left a toxic relationship despite fear of loneliness because they realized their self-respect was more important than the comfort of familiarity, or the employee who walked away from a job that made them miserable, trusting that their skills, passion, and integrity were worth more than a paycheck. These decisions are not easy. They require courage, discipline, and sometimes a willingness to face discomfort. But they are also the moments that define a life lived fully and authentically. Understanding your inner worth is the foundation for every other aspect of your life. It is what allows you to set boundaries without guilt, to make decisions from clarity rather than fear, and to navigate challenges with resilience. It is what allows you to protect your peace, even when the world seems determined to take it from you. And it is what empowers you to live a life that is unapologetically yours, grounded, intentional, and unshakable. So, ask yourself, do you see yourself as a person of infinite value, or are you still negotiating your worth for the approval of others? Do you honor your mind, your heart, your dreams, and your peace as if they are priceless? Yes, because they are. Today, in this very moment, you have the power to decide, to stop giving away pieces of yourself, to stop shrinking for the comfort of others, to finally recognize the truth that your worth is not conditional and your peace is not for sale. Because when you truly understand your inner worth, everything else in life becomes clearer. Every decision, every relationship, every opportunity is filtered through the lens of self-respect. And once you reach that place, there is no chaos outside that can disrupt the calm within. Peace is not something the world gives you. Peace is something you protect, cultivate, and defend with intention. Yet most people drift through life unaware of how easily it is stolen. It is not always the obvious chaos, the loud arguments, or the dramatic crises that take it away. Often it is the subtle, almost invisible forces, the tiny leaks that slowly drain your energy, your joy, and your sense of self-worth. These are the things we rarely notice until one day we wake up and realize that the weight on our chest has been there for months, or even years. Start by asking yourself this. How often do you feel tense, anxious, or restless without even knowing why? How often do you carry invisible baggage home from work, from social interactions, from scrolling your phone? Many of us have been conditioned to believe that stress, conflict, or discomfort is just part of life. But here's the truth. It is not inevitable. It is often a symptom of a life in which our peace has been repeatedly compromised, sometimes in ways we barely recognize. Think about the people in your life who consistently drain you, the ones who demand your time, our attention, or your validation without giving back. The ones who make you feel small, questioned, or guilty for your choices. It could be a friend who complains constantly, a coworker who thrives on conflict, a family member who imposes expectations that suffocate rather than nurture. Peace is not possible when you allow these influences to dominate your mental space. And yet, so often, we cling to these relationships because of guilt, fear, or habit. We forget that maintaining peace sometimes means walking away, setting limits, or disengaging entirely. Then there are the habits that steal your peace. Overthinking, perfectionism, comparison, endless scrolling, worrying about things you cannot control. These are all subtle thieves. They don't shout. They don't announce themselves. They quietly chip away at your clarity, leaving you exhausted and emotionally depleted. Consider how often you replay past mistakes in your mind, imagining conversations that never happened, worrying about outcomes that may never come. Every thought like this is a small surrender of your energy, a voluntary donation to stress. The world outside does not need to attack you. You can rob yourself of peace simply by living unconsciously. Your environment, too, is a reflection of your internal state. Chaos outside creates chaos inside. Living in cluttered spaces, staying in toxic workplaces, or constantly exposing yourself to negative media and social feeds can infect your mind. It's subtle, but cumulative. One toxic article, one argument overheard, one scroll through social media can set off a chain reaction that leaves you tense, reactive, and distant from yourself. Recognizing what steals your CE means taking a hard, honest look at your surroundings and asking, does this serve me? Does this protect my calm, or does it undermine it? The next challenge is internal theft, how you yourself betray your peace, saying yes when you mean no, overcommitting to responsibilities that do not align with your values, suppressing your emotions for the sake of others. Every time you ignore your own limits, you reinforce a pattern where your peace becomes negotiable, and every time you bend yourself into someone else's expectations, you give away the authority over your own life. The most insidious thieves of peace are often hidden within us because we are so focused on pleasing, achieving, or proving that we forget to honor our own boundaries. Recognizing these patterns requires awareness, courage, and sometimes a willingness to feel uncomfortable truths. You must look at your life as if you are an outsider, observing where your energy goes and how it is spent. Which conversations leave you drained? Which commitments leave you anxious or resentful? Which environments make you tense rather than inspired? Answer these questions with brutal honesty, because self-deception is one of the greatest enemies of peace. It is also essential to recognize that peace is stolen in subtle compromises. The temptation to argue, to react, to escalate conflict, these are daily opportunities to surrender calm. Choosing to respond with anger, fear, or defensiveness is often easier than pausing, reflecting, and protecting your mental space. But each time you give in, even slightly, you are allowing your peace to be negotiable. The most resilient, serene people are those who understand that peace is a non-negotiable asset. They do not hand it away, even in the heat of disagreement. They choose deliberately what to internalize and what to release. The biggest lesson in recognizing what steals your peace is that it is not always external. It is not always about other people or external circumstances. It is also about your relationship with yourself. Fear, self-doubt, regret, guilt, these internal pressures can be far more destructive than any external chaos. If you allow these inner saboteurs to control your thoughts, you will never find lasting calm. Learning to identify them, observe them, and not surrender to them is a critical step in valuing yourself deeply. Imagine for a moment a life where you are fully aware of these thieves of peace, where you can spot negativity, manipulation, and energy-draining habits from a mile away, where you know exactly which relationships, commitments, and environments nourish your soul and which ones deplete it. That life is not a fantasy, it is a choice. It begins with awareness, continues with deliberate action, and grows stronger with consistency. Recognizing what steals your peace is the first step toward reclaiming it. Every time you identify a threat, name it, and set a boundary, you reinforce the belief that your inner calm is sacred and untouchable. The most powerful people in the world are not those who control everything around them. They are those who refuse to let external chaos control them. They are those who know what matters, who understand what is worth engaging with, and who protect their energy as fiercely as they would protect their life. That is the power you can have. That is the life that is possible when we always start noticing, naming, and neutralizing the forces that steal your peace. So ask yourself, where has my peace been stolen? By whom? By what and why have I allowed it? How many hours, days, or even years have I surrendered to forces that do not serve me? The answers may be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is the first spark of awakening. Once you recognize the thieves of your peace, you can act. You can reclaim your energy, your focus, your calm. You can begin to design a life that prioritizes serenity above chaos, clarity above confusion, and self-respect above approval. Peace is not a reward. Peace is not a privilege. Peace is your birthright, and recognizing what steals it is the necessary first step in defending it, because until you see the threats, you cannot stop them. Boundaries are not walls, they are the invisible lines that protect your energy, your peace, and your sense of self, and yet so many people live without them, believing that saying no, stepping back, or prioritizing their own needs is selfish, rude, or even cruel. This is one of the greatest misconceptions about life and relationships. In reality, boundaries are the single most powerful tool you have to honor your own worth and protect the life you are building. Without boundaries, every interaction, every expectation, every demand becomes an opportunity for your energy, your confidence, and your calm to be siphoned away. The problem is that most people don't know how to set boundaries without feeling guilty. That guilt is the echo of a life lived trying to please everyone else at the expense of yourself. It comes from the fear of rejection, the fear of confrontation, or the belief that your worth depends on how useful or accommodating you are to others. But here's the truth. Guilt is a poor currency for peace. You do not earn respect by exhausting yourself. You do not prove love by sacrificing your well-being. And you do not honor anyone by ignoring yourself. Setting boundaries begins with clarity. You have to know what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not. This requires honesty with yourself. Ask yourself, what situations, behaviors, or patterns in my life leave me feeling drained, anxious, or resentful? Who consistently takes from me without giving back? Which commitments make me feel like I am shrinking rather than growing? When you can answer these questions with brutal honesty, you begin to see the map of your life as it truly is, not as you wish it were, not as others demand it to be, but as it exists right now. This clarity is the foundation of every boundary you will set. The next step is communication. Boundaries are not effective if they exist only in your mind. You must express them clearly, calmly, and respectfully. You do not need to justify, explain, or apologize for honoring your limits. A simple, direct statement is often enough. I cannot take this on right now, or I am not comfortable with this, or I need to step back from this conversation. These words carry weight because they are anchored in self-respect. They are not attacks. They are declarations of your own sovereignty over your time, energy, and emotional space. Many people fear that setting boundaries will create conflict, push people away, or make them appear uncaring. But the reality is the opposite. Boundaries filter relationships, revealing which connections are genuine and which are toxic. People who respect you will understand and honor your limits. People who do not respect you will reveal themselves quickly, sparing you years of energy wasted on trying to please them. Boundaries are not just acts of self-preservation, they are acts of revelation, showing you who belongs in your life and who does not. One of the most difficult aspects of boundary setting is managing internal guilt. The voice inside your head will often whisper that you are being selfish, unkind, or unreasonable. You may feel obligated to meet every demand, to say yes even when it harms you, to tolerate disrespect for the sake of harmony. Recognize this voice for what it is, a conditioned response, not a truth. You are not responsible for other people's feelings, only for your own actions. Saying no, stepping back, or prioritizing your peace does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person who values yourself, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Boundaries also require consistency. They are not one-off statements. They are habits, behaviors, and decisions repeated over time. When someone tests your limits, do not waver. When a situation challenges your peace, do not rationalize why you should bend. Every compromise without alignment is a betrayal of your own well-being. Consistency is the key to reinforcing boundaries so that they are not negotiable. When you show the world that your peace is non-negotiable, it begins to respect that reality. Consider the people who live without boundaries. They say yes to everything, feel guilty for resting, and apologize for asserting themselves. Over time, they accumulate resentment, burnout, and self-doubt. Their relationships suffer, their work suffers, and most importantly, their peace suffers. On the other hand, those who master boundaries live with a quiet power. They do not apologize for prioritizing themselves. They do not fear conflict because they understand that peace is not the absence of disagreement, but the presence of clarity, respect, and self-respect. Boundaries are also deeply personal. They are not about imitating what someone else does or following social expectations. Your boundaries must reflect your values, your energy, and your goals. If you are someone who needs time to recharge after social interactions, your boundary may be to decline invitations without guilt. If you are someone who cannot tolerate criticism in a degrading tone, your boundary may be to walk away from conversations that cross that line. If you are someone building a new career, your boundary may be to refuse tasks that distract from your priorities. Each boundary is a declaration: I am in control of my life. I am the guardian of my peace. I will not sacrifice myself for the comfort or convenience of others. One of the most profound truths about boundaries is that they teach others how to treat you. People often push limits because unconsciously they believe your peace is negotiable. When you enforce your boundaries, you rewrite that belief. You send a clear message: your time, your energy, your well-being are sacred. And over time, the people around you adjust. They respond with respect, awareness, and consideration. You may be surprised at how quickly your world changes when you simply honor yourself first. Finally, remember that setting boundaries without guilt is a lifelong practice. You will make mistakes, you will hesitate, you will question yourself, but each attempt strengthens your self-respect, reinforces your inner peace, and teaches you the power of saying no when it matters most. Every boundary you establish is an act of courage, a declaration of your worth, and a step toward living a life defined by serenity rather than sacrifice. Your peace is not optional, your calm is not negotiable, and your worth is not up for debate. By learning to set boundaries without guilt, you are reclaiming the power that is rightfully yours, the power to live fully, deeply, and peacefully in a world that often demands you compromise everything. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is a reflection of how much you value yourself. Whether it's what you choose to say, what opportunities you pursue, or how you respond to the people around you, every choice is a test of your self-respect. Too often, we underestimate this power. We think that self-respect is about big, dramatic moments, standing up to someone who disrespects us, leaving a toxic relationship, or quitting a job to drains us. And yes, those are examples. But self-respect lives in the details, in the choices we make every day, in the small but consistent ways we show up for ourselves. Imagine for a moment two people faced with the same situation. One person constantly compromises, allowing others to dictate their path, avoiding conflict even when it matters, bending to fit expectations that aren't their own. The other person acts with awareness, chooses what aligns with their values, and protects their inner peace above all else. Over time, these two paths diverge drastically. The first person feels drained, resentful, and invisible. The second feels empowered, clear, and anchored. The difference between them is simple: the degree to which they respected themselves in every decision. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It is not about thinking you are better than anyone else. It is not about being inflexible or rigid. True self-respect is a quiet, unwavering recognition that you are worthy of honor, dignity, and peace in every circumstance. It is the voice inside that whispers, "I deserve better," even when external pressure is screaming, "You should settle, you should compromise, you should give more than is healthy." It is the courage to make choices based on who you are and who you want to become, rather than what others demand of you. Consider the countless decisions we make each day without even realizing their cumulative effect. Deciding to stay in a draining meeting instead of excusing yourself. Deciding to reply to a critical email immediately. Feeding someone else's negativity. Deciding to spend time with someone who consistently leaves you feeling small. Each one of these decisions may feel insignificant in isolation, but over weeks, months, and years, they compound. They either reinforce your self-respect or erode it. The power of self-respect lies in your ability to recognize this and act intentionally. Every decision guided by self-respect is also a decision to protect your peace. When you respect yourself, you prioritize clarity over chaos, alignment over convenience, and integrity over appeasement. You stop rationalizing why you should tolerate disrespect or why it's easier to comply with what drains you. You understand that peace is not negotiable, and every choice you make either safeguards it or diminishes it. This mindset transforms the way you interact with the world. Suddenly, life is no longer a series of compromises but a series of deliberate, empowering choices. One of the most profound expressions of self-respect is the ability to say no without fear. No to commitments that pull you away from your purpose. No to relationships that drain rather than nourish. No to distractions that steal your time, energy, and focus. Saying no is not rejection. It is a declaration. It is a statement to yourself and the world that you will not negotiate your value. And when you say no, you are not only protecting yourself, you are also showing others how to treat you. Self-respect sets the standard for what you accept and what you refuse to accept. Self-respect also guides us in how we handle setbacks, criticism, and challenges. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances will often push against your values and test your resolve. Without self-respect, it's easy to react impulsively, allow others to dictate your emotions, or compromise your principles in search of approval. With self-respect, however, every challenge becomes an opportunity to reaffirm who you are. You do not bend to chaos. You respond with intention. You do not surrender to pressure. You act from a place of integrity. You do not allow failure to define you. You allow it to teach and strengthen you. Another critical aspect of self-respect in decision-making is accountability. People who respect themselves take responsibility for their choices and their lives. They do not blame others for their unhappiness or let circumstances dictate their self-worth. They understand that while they cannot control everything in the world, they can control their actions, reactions, and boundaries. This accountability is liberating. It shifts power back to you, because the quality of your life becomes directly linked to the quality of your choices. Self-respect is also a magnet for opportunity. When you make decisions from a place of integrity and self-worth, people notice. They notice your confidence, your clarity, and your refusal to settle. Doors open that might have remained closed if you had compromised or diminished yourself. Relationships flourish because they are rooted in mutual respect. And personal goals thrive because your energy is not wasted in appeasing others but focused on what truly matters. Life responds to the energy you project, and self-respect is one of the most powerful energies you can cultivate. But let me be honest, living this way is not always easy. It requires mindfulness, courage, and sometimes discomfort. You will face criticism, doubt, and resistance from others and from within yourself. You will have moments where saying no feels impossible, where standing firm feels lonely, where choosing yourself feels selfish. This is the test of self-respect. True self-respect is not demonstrated in comfort but in challenge. It is proven in the choices you make when the easy option is to compromise or conform. The ultimate power of self-respect in every decision is that it creates freedom. Freedom from manipulation, freedom from resentment, freedom from regret. When you respect yourself, you no longer give away your power. You no longer tolerate what diminishes you. You no longer negotiate with anything that threatens your inner calm. You live fully, deliberately, and authentically, anchored in the truth that your worth is non-negotiable. Every choice becomes a reflection of that truth, a reinforcement of your peace, and a testament to the life you are committed to living. Ask yourself, are your decisions today honoring who you are? Are they protecting your peace, reflecting your values, and reinforcing your worth? Or are you bending, compromising, and surrendering your power for the comfort of others or the illusion of convenience? The answers are your roadmap, and the path forward is clear, to make every decision with self-respect at its core, to allow your worth to guide your choices, and to live a life where nothing external can shake the calm, clarity, and dignity that reside within you. Life does not always unfold the way we hope. Challenges are inevitable. Setbacks happen. People disappoint us. Circumstances shift. Plans fail. And the chaos of the world seems determined to shake us to our core. And yet, it is not the presence of challenges that defines us. It is how we respond to them. This is where strength is forged, not in comfort, not in ease, but in the moments that test our resolve and demand that we rise above. Every challenge carries a lesson, an opportunity, a hidden gift, but only if we are willing to see it, embrace it, and transform it into fuel for growth. The first step in transforming challenges into strength is perspective. Most people experience difficulties as punishments, as evidence that the world is unfair, or as proof that they are inadequate. This mindset is exhausting and disempowering. But when you shift your perspective, challenges become a mirror reflecting areas where growth is possible. They are not obstacles meant to break you. They are opportunities meant to teach you, refine you, and reveal the depth of your resilience. Consider the person who loses a job they love. At first, it feels devastating, a failure, a blow to their confidence, but with the right perspective, it becomes a chance to reassess priorities, explore new opportunities, and ultimately step into a path that is more aligned with their values and purpose. The challenge was not the end of the story, it was the beginning of transformation. Resilience is the second pillar in turning difficulty into strength. Resilience is not the absence of fear, pain, or uncertainty. It is the ability to act, move forward, and maintain integrity despite those feelings. Every setback tests your resilience. Every moment of doubt, every criticism, every failure is a chance to strengthen the muscles of patience, perseverance, and courage. People who succeed in the face of adversity do not do so because life is easy. They do so because they have cultivated the mental discipline to endure, adapt, and keep moving. Resilience is learned, practiced, and strengthened every time you choose growth over surrender. Another key element is reflection. Challenges provide information, insights that are invisible in moments of comfort. When faced with difficulty, take the time to step back and ask, what is this teaching me? Where am I giving away my power? What patterns or behaviors can I change to prevent similar difficulties in the future? Reflection transforms chaos into clarity. It converts reactive frustration into deliberate action. Without reflection, challenges remain destructive. With reflection, they become transformational. The strongest people in the world are those who refuse to let experiences pass them by without learning from them. Equally important is embracing responsibility. It is tempting, in moments of struggle, to blame others, circumstances, or luck. But while the world may not always be fair, the only control you truly have is over your own response. Taking responsibility for your actions, decisions, and mindset is a profound act of empowerment. It is the realization that while you cannot always control what happens, you can control how you handle it. And it is in that control that strength is built. People who transform challenges into strength do not wait for permission, rescue, or external validation. They act, adapt, and assert themselves as architects of their own lives. Emotional mastery is another essential factor. Challenges are designed to provoke reaction, to stir fear, anger, or despair. The difference between being broken by difficulty and being strengthened by it is emotional discipline. This is not about suppressing feelings or denying reality. It is about processing emotions intentionally, allowing them to inform decisions rather than dictate them. Journaling, mindfulness, or simply taking deliberate pauses before responding are all tools to cultivate this mastery. The calmer your mind in the midst of difficulty, the clearer your path to transformation becomes. Stories of ordinary people transforming challenges into strength are everywhere, though we often overlook them. Consider someone who faced betrayal in a close relationship. The initial pain was excruciating, threatening to erode trust in themselves and others. But instead of allowing bitterness to dominate, they chose reflection, learning, and self-awareness. Over time, they emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident in their ability to discern genuine connections. Or consider an entrepreneur whose first business failed. The financial loss was significant, the stress overwhelming, yet the lessons learned about strategy, timing, and perseverance became the foundation for future success. In both cases, strength did not come from avoiding the challenge. It came from engaging with it fully, learning from it, and refusing to let it define them negatively. Another important truth is transformation often requires patience. Growth rarely happens overnight. Strength develops incrementally through repeated effort, repeated discipline, and repeated commitment to self-respect and resilience. A single victory does not create permanent power, but a consistent approach to challenges builds an unshakable foundation over time. The person who can navigate repeated setbacks, maintain integrity, and keep moving forward is the person whose strength becomes undeniable. Equally critical is the willingness to embrace discomfort. Transformation is not comfortable. It often feels like stepping into fire, painful, uncertain, and frightening, but every challenge you face, every moment of discomfort you endure while acting intentionally, strengthens your character. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the signal that you are stretching, growing, and moving closer to your potential. Those who avoid discomfort may feel temporary relief, but they also miss the opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Ultimately, transforming challenges into strength is about reclaiming power. Life may not always be fair, but your response is always yours. You can allow adversity to define you, or you can allow it to refine you. You can let setbacks rob your peace, or you can use them as fuel to fortify it. You can remain passive in the face of difficulty, or you can act deliberately to turn every obstacle into an opportunity. The choice is yours, every moment, every challenge, every decision. Ask yourself this: how many difficulties in your life have you surrendered to without extracting their lesson? How many setbacks have left you weaker instead of wiser? Today, you can choose differently. You can begin to see every challenge as a teacher, every failure as a guide, and every difficulty as a forge for your strength. The strongest people in the world are not those who avoid hardship. They are those who meet it with clarity, courage, and self-respect, and who refuse to let it take what is theirs, their peace, their dignity, and their power. When you embrace this mindset, life changes. Fear loses its control over your choices. Setbacks no longer dictate your self-worth. You become a person who acts deliberately, who responds rather than reacts, and who carries a quiet, unshakable confidence in the face of anything life throws at you. That is the ultimate power of transforming challenges into strength. It is the ability to live fully, freely, and fearlessly, anchored in self-respect and guided by the knowledge that nothing external can take away your inner peace unless you allow it. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to pause and really hear this. Your peace is non-negotiable, your worth is undeniable, and your life belongs to you, not to anyone else's expectations, opinions, or drama. Every choice you make, every boundary you set, every challenge you face is an opportunity to honor yourself and reclaim the life you deserve. Nothing outside of you has the power to diminish your calm unless you allow it. Remember, valuing yourself deeply is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the foundation for every relationship, every decision, and every dream you pursue. When you truly understand your worth, you stop shrinking for others, you stop tolerating what drains you, and you begin to live with clarity, courage, and purpose. Life will test you, chaos will come, people will push, circumstances will challenge. But the difference between a life of frustration and a life of fulfillment lies entirely in how fiercely you protect your inner peace and how unapologetically you honor your value. So today I challenge you to make a promise to yourself. Promise that you will no longer negotiate with your peace. Promise that you will no longer compromise your worth for comfort, approval, or fear of conflict. Promise that you will recognize every subtle thief of your energy and stop giving away pieces of yourself that are irreplaceable. And most importantly, promise that you will live deliberately, act intentionally, and embrace a life where self-respect is your compass, boundaries are your shield, and challenges are the forge for your strength. The world will always try to pull you away from yourself, to make you small, to make you doubt your value. But if you stand firm, if you commit to yourself first, nothing can take what is inherently yours, your dignity, your calm, and your power. Choose yourself. Protect your peace. Honor your worth. Not tomorrow. Not when it's convenient. Not when the world says it's safe. Do it now, because a life lived without peace is a life half-lived, and a life lived without valuing yourself deeply is a life that the world and you cannot fully celebrate. From this moment forward, let every thought, every action, and every choice be a reflection of the truth that you are enough, you are worth high, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is worth losing your peace over.